Capcom uses Resident Evil Remake on fans' wallets. It's super effective. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Look at that, you win a Jill sandwich. Everybody goes home happy. And remember, it is super duper effective, especially against living things. So Capcom, you finally fucking did it. You got to go and have one of the best releases digitally in your entire company's history. The Resident Evil Remake not only is one of the best-selling titles that you've ever had digitally, but is one of the biggest-selling Day 1 digital titles on the PlayStation Network. That speaks volumes of this game in general. And the fact that survival horror, especially this generation, is coming back in a big-time way, and the Resident Evil Remake is one of the best representations of the entire genre, in my opinion. And as a matter of fact, I've always considered it to be one of the best installments within the Resident Evil series. Now, granted, you know, it's a remake, and a lot of times remakes kind of get shunned for what they are, but I'll be completely honest. The Resident Evil Remake is the quintessential blueprint for what a video game remake should really look to be and look to achieve. In every single way, it takes everything that made the original special and does it better. The only thing that it lacks is the over-the-top, campy, cheesy horror that the original had, but a lot of that wasn't even really intentional whenever you think about it. You know, granted, I missed that, but it's, you know, I fucking love it for what it is. But the remake, it goes balls out and does not fuck around whatsoever. It's absolutely amazing. So I have to say kudos to Capcom. I mean, you did a really amazing thing with this title, and it's kind of strange though that this is the third time around. I mean, originally came out on GameCube, then got their re-release on Nintendo Wii, and now we're seeing this show up on multiple platforms now. And the only thing that kind of sucks about it is we don't have a physical release here in the States and in the PAL regions. You can import the game, and it's actually import friendly, especially on PlayStation 3, which that I love, because you can still play it in English and everything. But I'm hoping that this lets them know, oh shit, we ought to go and do a physical release. But it was rumored that they were considering doing the same exact thing with Resident Evil 0 that they did with this. And I absolutely love that idea, because that's one of the titles, I always consider it kind of like the Resident Evil Code Veronica of the series, where it doesn't get the attention, love, and admiration that it deserves, like the numbered sequels of many of the other titles within the franchise. And I'm hoping that if they do go ahead and do that, that it does just as well, because a lot of people should get to experience that. It's a very good game. But now, this made me start thinking about it. I mean, with an obvious success story like this, which is a big deal, being the biggest selling Day 1 digital title on any kind of network is a big deal, but being one of the biggest digital selling titles of your entire company's catalog, that's saying a lot. I mean, no fucking joke, that's saying a lot. I mean, Capcom's a big-ass company, and they've released a lot of titles digitally. And I think that this would have done even better had there been physical releases to coincide with it. But regardless of that, this makes me wonder, are they going to be changing up their strategy with the future releases of the Resident Evil series? I'm talking about the main titles in the series, not the offshoots similar to the Resident Evil Revelation series and Outbreak and Operation Raccoon City and all the other shit. I'm talking about like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and right now currently working on 7. Are they going to have the big emphasis on atmosphere and monsters and shit, or are they just going to go ahead with another shooting gallery and try to go after the Call of Duty crowd, which, if you remember, that's one of the things that they said that they were trying to go and achieve with the likes of Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, which I always found to be an asinine ideology to even approach with one of your titles. I mean, you invented the fucking namesake of survival horror, and you blew up the entire scene with this series, and people are buying Resident Evil games because they want a Resident Evil game, and then you change into a Call of Duty game. Pretty sure if somebody wants Call of Duty, they know where the fuck to find it. They go and find Call of Duty, and they're playing the shit out of that. And if they want a Resident Evil game, then they get that. But when you're not a Resident Evil game, then what the fuck's the point of getting your game? So I wonder what is it going to be like with Resident Evil 7? I mean, I'd be happier than a pig rolling in shit with my big old fucking sausage link hard on at the idea, the very notion that Resident Evil 7 could play and look anything even remotely similar to a modern gen version of the Resident Evil remake. Just fucking imagine that. You know, and I understand that from a business standpoint, that releasing a title like that is going to be a little more difficult by comparison to a title that's over-the-shoulder camera, you know, fucking shooting frenzy, just like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, but let's be honest. You want to keep your main fans happy, and considering the reputation of the series that's been declining over the years, due in part to the way that you've been making the recent games, I think you want to go back to the drawing board and look at what has been succeeding. Look at all the reviews and the fan outcry. Look at the way that people are responding positively to this title. This title that, I mean, they actually redid some things within the remake to go and update it and make it look a little bit nicer, which, again, I thought was great. But you have to realize that you have to listen to fans. Ultimately, if you want this series to go and carry on, and somebody like myself that is a die-hard fan of the survival horror genre, and especially of the Resident Evil franchise, you have to quit fucking around. And, you know, you don't want to eventually go bankrupt and start selling your assets, which you've been on the verge of multiple times. So, I say this to you. Make Resident Evil 7 as similar as possible to the Resident Evil remake and see how it goes. You've already tried changing the formula and successfully did it with Resident Evil 4, but weren't capable of really running with that gauntlet. Now try this. Do it multi-platform, do it big, or don't do it at all. I just want to see the best possible survival horror game from you. You know, you don't have Shinji Mikami behind you anymore, but I can guarantee that there's plenty of talented folks out there in the gaming industry, and especially that work for you, that be able to do this. Just quit trying to steer the ship in a direction to cater to one fucking crowd that has nothing to do with your franchise whatsoever. And I will go and definitely say again, kudos to you, Capcom, for going and having a success story like this, and a title that deserves, absolutely 100% deserves the attention that it's getting right now. Even if it had to be the third time around. Third time's a charm, many people say, and it seems like it might be the case with this. So, out there in YouTube land, what do you think? Do you think that this might be a way for us to go and get a physical release here in the States and in PAL regions for this? Will we end up seeing Resident Evil 0? Do you think that this is going to be something that's an indicator of what we're going to see in the future installments within Resident Evil series? And for anybody out there that has it, how are you enjoying it? Are you actually liking it? Is this your first time ever getting to enjoy it? Or is it kind of like with me, where you've already played it through multiple times on the previous console generations, like on the GameCube, Nintendo Wii, or maybe you downloaded and emulated on the Dolphin emulator? Either way, sound off in the comments below! Or don't, because you don't fucking feel like it. Either way, it doesn't matter. I got to banter on about my opinion and such. So, anyway, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always. Nerds, nerdettes, and gamers. Game the fuck on.